Welcome to Fluency Game. Today, you'll practice English in a simple and natural way by thinking in English through food. You'll hear real daily situations, preparing breakfast, having lunch, cooking dinner. Each scene will help you learn useful words and expressions that you can use every day. Listen carefully, repeat out loud, and imagine the actions as if they were part of your own routine. This is not about translation, it's about living English through the small moments that fill your day. Now, let's start with breakfast.
The kitchen is bright as the morning light touches the counter. She opens the fridge and takes out milk, butter, and a jar of strawberry jam. On the table, there's a basket of bread, some fresh, some from yesterday. She slices a piece, spreads butter on it, and puts it in the toaster. The smell of toast starts to fill the room. While it turns golden, she prepares coffee. The machine makes a soft sound as it brews, and steam rises from the cup. She pours a little milk, stirs slowly, and sets it beside a small plate of fruit, banana, apple, and a few pieces of papaya. Some mornings are simpler. She just drinks orange juice and eats a slice of cake, something sweet from the day before. Other days, when she has time, she makes pancakes, mixes flour, eggs, and milk in a bowl, adds a spoon of honey, and watches the batter cook on the pan. The sound of it sizzling is her favorite part of the morning. She flips the pancake carefully and drizzles honey on top when it's ready. Her breakfast changes depending on the day. Sometimes yogurt with oats and strawberries, sometimes toast with cheese or jam. She uses a small knife to cut the fruit and a spoon for the yogurt. The table is simple but organized: a napkin, a cup, a small plate, and a fork. When everything is ready, she sits by the window. Outside, the neighborhood is quiet. She eats slowly, takes a sip of coffee, and checks the time before getting ready to leave.
By noon, the sun is high, and the kitchen feels warm again. She opens the fridge to see what's left from the week. A few vegetables, some rice, and chicken from yesterday's dinner. She takes out the cutting board and starts preparing lunch. First, she washes the lettuce and tomatoes for a small salad, then chops a bit of onion and garlic. In the pan, a few drops of olive oil heat up and the smell spreads through the room. She adds the garlic, stirs it until golden, and then puts in the chicken. A light sound of sizzling fills the air. While it cooks, she prepares a pot of rice, 2 cups of water, a little salt, and a splash of oil. The steam begins to rise, and she lowers the flame. She checks the clock, sets the table, and fills a glass of water. Sometimes she prefers something quicker, a sandwich with cheese, tomato, and lettuce, or maybe a bowl of soup when it's cold outside. On busy days, she warms leftovers in the microwave, adds a little sauce, and eats standing by the counter. When everything is ready, she places the food on a plate. Rice, chicken, and salad on the side. She sprinkles a bit of pepper, adds lemon juice, and sits to eat. The first bite is always quiet. The kitchen, the plate, the smell. Everything feels calm for a few minutes before the day continues. The afternoon moves slowly, and she feels a little hungry again. It's not time for dinner yet, so she makes something light. On the counter, she places a small plate
and a mug. She boils water for tea and opens a packet of cookies. Chocolate, the kind she likes with milk or tea. The sound of the kettle fills the kitchen. When the water is ready, she pours it into the cup and adds a slice of lemon. The steam rises, and a soft scent spreads through the room. Some days she prefers coffee instead of tea, especially when she still has work to finish. She adds a spoon of sugar and mixes it slowly. If there's bread left from the morning, she toasts it again and spreads jam or butter. Other days, she cuts a piece of cake or eats fruit, maybe an apple or a few grapes. When she's in the mood for something cold, she opens the fridge and takes a small yogurt or makes a quick smoothie with banana and milk. The afternoon snack is simple, but it gives her a short pause between tasks. She sits near the window, lets the cup warm her hands, and listens to the quiet sounds of the neighborhood. A car passing by, the wind moving the leaves outside. After a few minutes, she finishes her drink, rinses the mug, and goes back to what she was doing, feeling a little more awake. The evening air is cooler when she returns to the kitchen. The lights are soft, and the smell of food still lingers from lunch. She opens the fridge and looks at what she has: a few vegetables, eggs, some rice, and cheese. She decides to make something simple. On the counter, she chops garlic, onion, and tomato, then heats a little oil in a pan. The soft sound of frying fills the room again. She adds the vegetables, stirs slowly, and lets them cook until they're tender. Sometimes she makes rice with vegetables, sometimes an omelet. When it's an omelet night, she breaks 2 eggs into a bowl, adds salt, pepper, and a bit of cheese, then pours it into the pan. The edges start to brown, and the smell is familiar and comforting. On weekends, she might cook pasta, boiling the noodles while preparing a quick sauce with tomato and olive oil. If she feels like something lighter, she just prepares a soup or a salad with tuna and lettuce. She sets the table with a single plate, fork, and glass of water. There's no rush now. The city outside is quiet, and the kitchen feels like a small island of calm. She eats slowly, cutting each bite, watching the steam rise from the plate. When she finishes, she covers the leftovers, washes the dishes, and wipes the counter clean. The lights are still warm as she turns them off. Another meal done, another day almost complete. Now, let's review some of the most useful words and actions we've heard in the kitchen. You already know how to talk about food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But the kitchen has its own language. Words like boil, fry, mix, slice, pour, stir, bake, taste, cup, plate, fork, knife, spoon, fridge, stove, pan, and oven are part of everyday English. They describe what happens in every home every day. So now let's practice together. I'll say short and simple sentences you can repeat. Each one uses common kitchen vocabulary. Just listen, repeat,
and imagine the action as you say it.
I open the fridge to take the milk. I open the fridge to take the milk. I boil water for tea. I boil water for tea. I cut the bread with a knife. I cut the bread with a knife. I mix the eggs in a bowl. I mix the eggs in a bowl. I pour coffee into a cup. I pour coffee into a cup. I fry an egg in the pan. I fry an egg in the pan. I stir the soup slowly. I stir the soup slowly. I bake a cake in the oven. I bake a cake in the oven. I taste the sauce before serving. I taste the sauce before serving. I put the plates on the table. I put the plates on the table. I wash the dishes after eating. I wash the dishes after eating. I clean the counter with a cloth. I clean the counter with a cloth. I open the drawer to find a spoon. I open the drawer to find a spoon. I turn on the stove to cook. I turn on the stove to cook. I add salt and pepper to the food. I add salt and pepper to the food. I cut the vegetables into small pieces. I cut the vegetables into small pieces. I put the pan in the sink. I put the pan in the sink. I pour juice into a glass. I pour juice into a glass. I spread butter on the toast. I spread butter on the toast. I close the fridge door. I close the fridge door. I wash the fruit before eating. I wash the fruit before eating. I take a fork and a knife. I take a fork and a knife. I put honey on the pancakes. I put honey on the pancakes. I turn off the stove. I turn off the stove. I dry the dishes with a towel. I dry the dishes with a towel.